34 Tour de France stage wins, the record of Eddy Merckx, which was equalled by Mark Cavendish at this year's Tour de France, thanks in large part to his stacked lead-out train, which kept him in good position. Third last man, Kasper Asgreen, winner of the Tour of Flanders. 1600 meters to go is where he comes into play. Second last man, Davide Ballerini, winner of Omloop Het Nieuwsblad this year. Last man needs no introduction, Michael Merckx, who led out Bennett, Hodge and Cavendish to countless wins this year. But this video isn't about Cavendish 4 stage wins, it's about what went wrong on the Champs Elysees stage 21 when Quickstep couldn't get it done for Mark Cavendish to break Eddy Merckx's record. We're going to take a look at that stage, why it's different to typical sprint stages, and it's 108 Ks, half of which is ceremonial. They only really race for about 50 Ks. If you're a regular watcher of the Tour de France, you'll of course be familiar with the finish, which is the finish every sprinter dreams of winning. And we had strong breakaways, 42 Ks to go, Conrad, Bissiger, Sweeney, 3 strong guys being managed by Tim de Klerk with a 28-second gap, with Cavendish, Merckx and Ballerini sitting somewhere mid-pack typically because of a better draft. No need to be so close to the front at this stage. At the intermediate sprint with 6 laps to go, Cavendish and co were looking pretty good, to be honest. Like Matthews trying to nab a few points from him, but Cavendish showed a clean pair of heels and won that easily, almost uncontested. And so then after that, Cavendish had the best part of 40 minutes to recover before 1.5 laps to go. Things got out of control for Quickstep. Again, this is a different break, same teams, Brent Van Moer, Michael Valgren pre-Worlds form, and Ida showing for Bora. Why are these teams in the break? Again, it's because they don't have a sprinter for the finish. Bora lost Sagan and they had no Ackermann there, and Lotto lost Caleb Ewan on stage 3. So we have 3 extremely strong riders in the break once again, being managed largely by Quickstep. Alpecin sent 1 rider up the front. That's not Dries Stevenens, I think it's Catania for Quickstep. But this is on Quickstep to chase this back. They want to get Cavendish 35th stage win at the Tour de France, and he's won 4 stages ahead of Philipsen already. It's on Quickstep to chase this break back, and you can see Cavendish doing the right thing, and this is a smart thing. Better draft back here. He's still largely relaxed at this point, no need to move up yet. So this break of 3 had a slender lead with 1 lap to go, about 6.5 kilometers left, and this is when Cavendish and co move up, but this is when things kind of get chaotic. Ineos with Kwiatkowski trying to set up a Geraint Thomas attack on the flat, and it's Kasper Asgreen, the 1600 meter man who I introed at the start, having to close this with 6.5 Ks to go. Now Thomas, he already won a stage with a late flat attack in the Criterium de Dauphiné early this year, still got that engine. Asgreen has to do a lot of work to bring this back. He does, and then it's Catania further back in this group who's trying to mark counter-attacks because there's Niels Pollitt, Daniel Loss, and Lucas Pöstlberger who are about to attack just behind Catania. Now he's, I think, going to be 4th last man today after Alaphilippe, but again, Niels Pollitt, 6 Ks to go with Pöstlberger. This ain't a Jetse Bowl meme attack, 3 Ks to go in La Vuelta. These are serious guys. Niels Pollitt won a flat rolly stage from the break ahead of strong rouleurs in this very Tour de France. Pöstlberger won a Criterium de Dauphiné stage 2. This is the caliber of guys attacking somewhat fresh. There's not that many calories that they've burnt before this point, even though it is at the back end of the Tour de France. Maybe half the peloton drunk, I don't know, but these guys were on it. And it's just not the sort of caliber of rider that is typically attacking in a straightforward sprint stage in the last 10 kilometers. Perhaps we should see this more often, and it shouldn't just be the last-ditch attempt in the end of the Tour de France. But Alaphilippe, 4.5 Ks to go. They've got a right-hand turn, then a left when they come back on themselves towards the Champs-Élysées. He's going to take it up, but leave Quickstep. This is what was different to what they did on previous stages. Quickstep weren't going to the front with 4 Ks to go in previous stages. Now, Cavendish was looking in a pretty good position, looking pretty relaxed. That's fine, but typically Quickstep move forward at 2 Ks to go, 1700 meters to go, whereas here they're not sitting in the wheels at this point, and they actually get left on the front, and Asgreen knows it's too early, 2.7 Ks to go, and he's looking around. He's like, it's not time for him to lead out at this point. And when that happens, there's a power vacuum. Alpes and Phoenix as well don't really have numbers. You see their rider looking around. Turnisson's the last man for Wout van Aert, already eating wind. And so Jonas Rouge, I think, goes on the other side of the road. And so this second train on the side of the road nearest to us in the overhead shot moves up whilst Quickstep are shuffling back at 2.3 k's to go, whereas normally they're moving forward at this point. And what makes matters worse is we have two left-hand turns. We're not going to be able to see what happens in the tunnel, but the Quickstep train, this is where the real problems start. Merckx gets detached from Ballerini. Mark, I believe it is, Slovenian national champs jersey, gets in between those two on the far side. Van Aert and Turnison a little bit more forward, and so Merckx and Cavendish are now detached and at the mercy, really, of the people in front of them to move them up. And that's made worse when you see Kasper Asgreen on the left-hand side. This is out of the tunnel now. He's about to start doing his job behind this Intermarché rider and pulling with 1,500 meters to go. The problem is Cavendish is in the gutter, far back, not even on a wheel at this point, trying to move up, spending energy, and Asgreen pulling with Ballerini on his wheel. Perfect if Merckx and Cavendish are behind him. The problem is we've got three parallel lines as the riders look at us, and Cavendish is on the Mark line. He's not on the Asgreen-Ballerini line or the Rouge line, and Mark, who Cavendish and Merckx are hoping can bring him forward now somewhere near Ballerini and Asgreen, Mark can't do it because Kasper Asgreen's absolutely sparking it on the front, and Mark can barely move that right-hand lane forward. And so now Merckx's not connected to Ballerini. He's got Mike Turnison in the way, and Cavendish is next to Wout van Aert. And something happens here again that didn't typically happen throughout the season for any of the riders behind Merckx, and the camera changes angle so it's difficult to see. Mark Cavendish elects to leave the wheel of Merckx and slide in front of him. You can just see before they go through the chicane, he moves on to Wout van Aert's wheel, knowing that Wout van Aert's probably going to give him a good lead out. Wout van Aert likes to go early. And so going into the final 600 meters is Asgreen, Ballerini, not Merckx, not Cavendish. It's Turnison and Van Aert in the place of where Merckx and Cavendish typically would be and are supposed to be if the train is all connected. And so with this position, with Alpecin Phoenix on the right-hand side, with Jonas Rickard and Philipsen next to Cavendish, Merckx does his best to slide onto Cavendish wheel to at least protect Cavendish back wheel, but Cavendish can almost impossible for him to win at this point because he's not that much faster than Wout van Aert. Wout van Aert's just typically not in as good a position as Mark Cavendish. He's got Alpecin Phoenix on the right-hand side of him, and Jonas Rickard drops off Philipsen. He moves over and drops Philipsen sort of half on the wheel of Wout van Aert, and so now Cavendish is half off the wheel, finding Philipsen for the wheel. And so when Wout van Aert opens up his sprint, I think this was the best lead out of the year by Mike Turnison, given that he was on the front with 2.7 k's to go. Incredible lead out. If Wout van Aert sprints straight, which he always does, he doesn't have to open up that gap to the barriers, which he doesn't until right at the end. Cavendish couldn't win from that point and is left frustrated, not breaking that 35th stage win record. The leadouts aren't always perfect, and the Champs Elysees stage is a tricky one to manage, as we saw here. What I want to hear from you is Cavendish just extended with Deceuninck-Quickstep. Some good news for him in the last month or so. Do you think, 1-year deal, do you think Quickstep send him to the Tour de France next year to try and break that record? There's barely any sprint stages, so maybe they're thinking, is it even worth sending Fabio Jakobsen, who's unlikely to win green, and the marketing hype if Cavendish, even if he doesn't break it beforehand, might be worth it to send him to go for that 35th stage win. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed the video and the slightly different intro. Looking forward to Caleb Ewan being back on top next year, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.